Hey artists, have you guys ever seen a picture of cups and fruit, maybe in a bowl? Well, you were probably looking at a picture that we call a still life, and that is what our lesson is all about today. Our guiding question is, what is a still life? Like we talked about earlier, it's a type of painting or drawing that depicts or pictures objects that aren't living, aren't moving, things like cups and bowls and bottles. The word still in still life comes from those objects not being alive. So obviously they can't move, so they are still. And that's how we get the title still life. Our learning target is I can observe and draw a found object still life. Remember, we have been talking a lot about observing and observation, just like in our contour line leaf project. And all that means is just to look closely at something so that you can draw it better and not draw something that you think looks like a cup, but actually draw the real life cup that's in front of you. A found object. The reason I say found object still life is because you're going to be going around your home or your space and searching for things that you can draw. Just whatever you have on hand, like common objects like foam cups and plates, and we'll get more into that later. And then our still life is what we will be making, and you will make one still life drawing. Okay guys, so where do you start? Like always, just gather your materials. You're gonna need some pieces of white paper. You need 2 white pieces of paper, one to have as the background or to place all of your objects on top, because if you have all your objects on top of a dark table, like a dark surface, it's kind of harder to tell and it makes it harder to draw. So white paper. You need white paper, obviously, for drawing. You're going to be making your drawing on one of these sheets. You need a pencil, eraser if you have it, a Sharpie for outlining later. You need some sort of coloring utensils like crayons, colored pencils, markers, and of course, you need the objects that you are going to draw. Things like a milk carton, like half and half, or an old yogurt cup. And we'll get more into that in a bit. All right, guys, so let's enter into part 1 because this whole project is broken up into 4 parts. So in part 1, we are learning how to find the objects and arrange them to draw, because half of this project is just arranging the still life that you want to draw. You can't just sit down and start drawing immediately without anything in front of you. So, what happens when you're trying to choose your objects? Well, guys, I'm going to be showing you how to draw some common things, like I mentioned, bowls and cylindrical objects like toilet paper tubes and maybe some fruit. But if you want to add other things to your still life that's not things that I taught you how to draw, you are totally welcome to, and I actually challenge you to do that. The only thing is that I want in the end, I want your drawing to have at least one cup or one bowl in it, and not just be everything except for that. Okay, so step 1 is looking around your space. And I want you to find and search for at least 3 different objects. That could mean, all right, I'm going to choose this plastic bowl I saw. That's a nice bigger bowl. And then I'm going to choose a foam cup bowl, and then maybe a lemon. Or maybe you want to use a plastic cup. Y'all, doesn't have to be fancy. It can literally just be a recycled cup, a milk carton, or a toilet paper tube. It's really all about how we're going to draw these things, more than the objects themselves being super special. Okay, so that's step 1, finding at least 3 of those things. I would not try to draw more than 4 or 5, because if you do, your drawing might get too busy, and we want it to be fairly simple. Okay, step 2 is to arrange your objects on your white sheet of paper for your still life. So I'm going to just choose some things that I see, and I think that I'm going to use this cup, this lemon, and this bowl. And I like that as my still life. Now, when you guys are drawing, you're going to be looking at it from this side. Obviously, in this video, you're seeing it from the top down. I don't want you to make your drawing from the top down. I want you to make it from the side. But for this video, you're just going to see it from this angle. All right. So, some other objects too that you could choose could be a yogurt cup, foam cup or bowl, just a regular bowl, fruit, toilet paper roll, milk carton, or maybe even a mug. So those are just some extra things when you are looking around your house that you could also use. Okay, so when you are arranging your objects, you want to place the things that are taller, like this cup, in the back. If you place them in the front, you're going to be covering up the objects in the back. This lemon is not as tall as this cup, so I want it in front. One thing that's an easy mistake that you do not want to do, and I have a picture of it in our Nearpod slides that'll show you, is you don't want to put all your objects at the same level. You want to place them kind of in a grouping, like a triangle like this. If they're all in a line, then they're all separate, and then your still life is not going to look very interesting, and it won't have any overlapping. That's where we draw the objects to make them look like they are in front or in the back. So I have my lemon in front, my taller cup in the back, and then also this cup or this bowl is bigger, so I definitely don't want it in front because it would cover up everything. So put the taller and bigger objects in the back of your still life. Okay, we're ready for part 2. In part 2, I have it as its own part, which is observing your still life, because it's so important. If you just sit down quickly and you just sketch out what you think the still life looks like, you're not really observing. And while you're observing, you're just becoming familiar with the shapes. I want you to ask yourself questions like, do all of my cups and bowls have circular edges? Did I maybe pick a square plate? Then that I would draw that different, right? What are my taller and shorter objects? What do I need to draw bigger? What do I need to draw smaller? All these types of things will help you as you start to draw. Are there any labels on my cups? Things that I can include? Stuff like that. Okay, so I've observed and I'm ready to draw. Let's talk about that in our next video.